Good morning. Happy that each of you are here this morning. It's cold weather and stuff. I thought we were going to miss another Sunday, like last Sunday, but a few minutes here for you to get to know Barb and Brian. And so let's open with a word of prayer, please. Gracious Heavenly Father, I do thank you for the safe travel of people here, for Brian and Barb, for them to be here today. They're great people, Lord. I hope that can be shown through this time. And Lord, you're a great God that we serve. Let's always give our utmost and honor to you. And we also ask to be with Dennis today and be with him. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. What I have lined up for a forum today is I've got a few questions for Brian and Barb. And at any time, you can ask a question. I'll probably repeat it so that we can hear it as we tape it. There's several people that aren't able to be here today. They had other obligations. They'd like to see this session as well. So, Brian and Barb, thanks for being here today. I'll let Barb go first.
Oh, great.
We'll have you hold the mic so we can hear the oh great, okay?
Oh, great.
Tell me about growing up. Where and from where did you grow up at, and just about growing up.
Well, I grew up on a farm in Ashland, near Ashland, Nebraska, which is right between Lincoln and Omaha. I have 3 older sisters, so they saved the best for last.
Oh,
I went to a 2-room schoolhouse through 8th grade, which is kind of unique. We didn't have running water till I was in 6th grade, and so it's kind of fun to tell people about that because they think it's like Little House on the Prairie. So, anyway, graduated from Ashland Greenwood High School, and then went to Manhattan Christian College and graduated from there with a degree in Bible and church music.
Very good. And tell me about your church that you attended as a youngster.
Well, on a good Sunday, we had probably 20 people there, and the minister was a Manhattan grad, and he was the chaplain at Offutt Air Force Base, and he would drive out every Sunday and preach, and he and his wife came out, and so that's my experience. And it was in Wann, Nebraska, with W-A-N-N, which is where my school was, and so that was kind of about the only 2 buildings that were there, and about 5 houses where people lived. And
so I asked her if she's used to small, and as we visited with them, as the leadership visited with them, I asked them if they are used to working with small churches, and she shared that. So we look like we have a big crowd here today.
It's a mega church here.
Brian, I'd like you to maybe share the same thing growing up, and Barb did a great job.
My dad was a pastor at the Grizzled Church, Christian church there in Grizzled, Iowa, until I think it was 1st grade, and we moved to the big city of Lincoln, Nebraska. So I was born in Greenfield, Iowa, actually, and then we lived in Grizzled till 1st grade, and so then we moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, and that was home all the way through, really till now, just about. My dad was a pastor at Capital City Christian Church there, and it was bigger than 20 people. But it was a great church, and we loved growing up there, and it was kind of nice just to be able to not have to move and make that home. So we loved Nebraska, and when you grow up in Lincoln, Nebraska, you cheer for the Huskers. So I have a little bit of Husker blood in me, even though we've been in Iowa a long time now. But from there I went to Nebraska Christian College and enjoyed my experience and training there, and again, just growing up in a church family was nice. Dad was the pastor, and I don't ever remember having ill feelings. I think some pastors' kids probably had a hard time, but maybe that's changing throughout the years. But never felt too awkward being a pastor's kid or anything like that. But enjoyed seeing the church and the joys and the struggles that churches go through was just part of our growing up, I guess. And then from graduating from Nebraska Christian College, we took a youth ministry job in Rapid City, South Dakota. I think we got married, and then we were dorm parents graduated from Nebraska Christian College, we got married, then we were dorm parents for a week for New Way Singers, and then we moved in the next week. So it was a busy 3 weeks for us, and we were just not quite at 2 years at First Christian Church in Rapid City, South Dakota, and enjoyed that time. But then the church at Grinnell asked us if we wanted to come back closer to home, and we thought that would be a good move for us. And so we've been at Grinnell for 24 years and until now. So
great, you answered a lot of what
we're going to put you here in trouble now. We're answering all the questions.
So getting back to the Griswold Church, your dad married Dennis and Mary Ann, and Dennis even shared with us that your dad perhaps baptized Mary Ann.
I think
and you would not have known that.
Yeah.
Maybe, well, yeah.
Well, Dennis and I have talked a little bit about that, yeah, so there's a neat connection long time ago, so.
Any questions from you guys on their early, yes?
How did you two meet, and what was the actual date of your marriage?
Question is how you two met, and you shared that with us a little bit, where and stuff. You went to 2 different colleges, so fill us in on the gap there.
Yeah, we grew up about 30, 40 miles apart, but we never met until she had graduated from Manhattan Christian College. I was taking a year off of Nebraska Christian College to work and save money and figure out what I was doing. And so we ended up being high school youth sponsors together at this church where my dad was preaching. And so we were youth leaders and just met, and took a while for me to get her to pay attention to me, but that worked out. It's kind of funny. Our first date was we went to FFA cow showing contest, which I knew nothing about. You know, she knew more about it than I did. She grew up on a farm, but we went to watch one of the high schoolers from our church show his cattle down in Beatrice, Nebraska, I believe it was, and so I think it was just a good excuse for us to spend some time together, and so we just dated and then got married. And what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, what was the date on
May 30th. I got that right. May 30th, 25 years ago. We celebrated our 25th in May this past year. So those are the hard ones.
Knowing Jeanette, she'll probably want to know where you proposed, or maybe she did to you. Was it at the FFA thing again?
I don't remember exactly where.
Actually, it was at Christmas time, and I knew when we started dating, I knew nothing about baseball cards. I just thought they were boring. But I kind of got to know a little bit about them through dating Brian, and so we decided to exchange Christmas presents, and he handed me a pack of baseball cards, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And so I opened them up and started going through them. Well, he had cut out, like he left the top 2 and the bottom 2 and cut a circle in the middle. Well, first he went through and made sure there weren't any good ones, and then he cut holes in them and put my ring in the pack of baseball cards. So he's pretty romantic. It's impressive. And so I started thumbing through these baseball cards, and there was my ring in there, and of course I said yes, and so that was at Christmas time. Yeah.
Very good. Appreciate that. So, any other questions for them on up to their? Yes, Rose.
You have brothers and sisters.
Yes, Rose would like to know about your brothers and sisters. Are you the last one, favorite again?
No, I was the middle child. I have an older brother, Mark. He's a pastor, and there's a neat connection there too. With he's a pastor at Stonebridge Christian Church in Omaha, Nebraska. That's where Carrie and Matt work at that church. So that's a neat connection. In fact, I think Dennis was there a week ago. I'm not sure. And anyway, so just kind of a neat little connection with our families and all that too. So my brother preaches there, and then I have a sister. It was my brother Mark, then me, and then Diane. And Diane lives with her family in just south of Lincoln, Nebraska, and her husband does insulation contracts and that type of thing. And then Linda, she was the youngest. She lives in Kansas City, Missouri. She met a guy from Nebraska Christian College from Primgar, Iowa, and they've lived in Dallas or Kansas City. He does work with Principal. He was with Fidelity for a while. He does financial management or something like that, and they live in Kansas City. So there was 4 of us.
Okay. And she rose. Yes, Patty? What was your maiden name?
Oh boy, good.
Grauerholtz. Yeah. See why I got married?
I think that's why she married me, because Chitwood was better than Grauerholz, but German. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Graywood and Chitwood.
Yeah.
Okay. Going with that, was your grandfather in the ministry?
No, neither one. My grandpa, my dad's dad, grew up in Viroqua, Wisconsin, and he actually spent some time at Nebraska Christian College as a dorm parent for a while too. He was a painter, painted for the hospital in Viroqua, and but no ministry. And then my mom's dad, mom and dad, my grandpa and grandma Smith, were from Bridgeport, Nebraska, way out by Chimney Rock. That was their home, and they lived there, and very simple people, never owned a home, I don't think, and farmed, and kind of a neat story. Grandma was just always faithful churchgoer. They had 9 brothers and sisters, so it was a large family, but very poor family, really. And but Grandma would make them go to church. But Grandpa was a pretty rough old dude. He was pretty gruff guy, really, tall, slender guy, and we didn't get out there a lot. We lived in Lincoln, and they were 7 hours away in Bridgeport, Nebraska. But we loved going out to Grandpa. He smoked a pipe, and he rolled his own cigarettes. I shouldn't even share that, but so he was pretty rough. But we were just amazed. He'd blow smoke rings for us as kids, and of course my mom was just hating it, But he would go to auctions and take us along to auctions, or we loved to fish, and he would take the city boys fishing, And but at 76 years old, he changed his life, and I get choked up about it. He would go to church, but he just wasn't plugged in at all. And Grandma would throw clothes in the back. She said, "You want to be baptized?" For years. One Sunday he says, "Yeah, I'm ready." I just think it's God's grace. At 76 years old, he was baptized. So.
Oh, praise God.
Get the Kleenexes.
Yeah. I'm known to get a little emotional. Sorry about that.
Actually, when we came to the Christmas Eve service and saw all the Kleenexes around, we're like, it's a sign.
Oh, we may need
Let's get easier questions here. Forget the hard ones here.
Well, any other questions from you on Raymond?
So you're doing woodworking, I understand.
And Raymond's asking about your woodworking. You said you had a year to figure things out. You shared with us.
Yeah.
You left Nebraska, and I think you.
Yeah, woodworking just has been a passion of mine. I took a woods class in 9th grade at our high school, and just loved it. I just took as many classes as I could. I just kind of hung out in the woods room during high school, and I don't know if the teacher thought I was weird or what, but even in my free time I'd go there. So I just always loved it. Thought I probably would pursue that as a career, and my first year out of high school I just worked in a cabinet shop in Lincoln, and that would have been 1979-80, and the economy got pretty slow, and the housing industry slowed down, so we were only working about 3 days a week. I thought, well, this isn't good, so I decided to give Nebraska Christian College a try, and loved it. But even while I was there, I was able to set up a shop in there. They had a little shop, and they let me set up my woodworking tools in there, and end up working for a guy too in Lincoln that was a furniture builder, which was really neat. He was just a one-man show, but very talented, and I learned a lot from him. And so I was blessed to get some good hands-on training, and I've always just loved woodworking, and still do, and try to make projects for people or different things. So, are you a woodworker?
Yeah.
Good. Well, we'll have to.
Yeah.
So.
Are you taking orders?
Maybe. Yeah.
Only for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I did. Our oldest son Wade is 22, and we sold the motorcycle when he was born. So I haven't done a motorcycle for a long time. But we had a Honda 750, what was that? Magna. Anyway, enjoy that. We liked that when we were in Rapid City because it was windy roads in the hills, but we haven't had a motorcycle since then. So
You may have to get one, 'cause there's
I hear that this is the biker capital. So
Going back to the woodworking park, Ray, he also has, he has some Wisconsin background, sounds like. And up there they tell me they have a cabin that his dad owns that they like to go up to. But in his woodworking, he's taken on something he's never built before. Why don't you share what you're building and who it's for?
Well, since I'm not working at Grinnell Christian Church anymore, and hopefully this works out for us, we had a 5 or 6 week window there. I thought, well, what I'm going to do, I've always wanted to try to build a wooden canoe. We like to be outdoors, and so I have a shop. It's 15 miles from here or whatever at our house. We live in a little farmhouse, and so right now there's a 16-foot canoe that it doesn't look like a canoe yet, but it's getting closer. So we're hoping then during our time off to get a wooden canoe built. So it's, what was that?
Are you hollowing out a log?
No. Actually, 5 or 6 years ago, I think I got to go to Ghana, West Africa, and that's what they did over there. It was kind of neat. It was a mission trip with CIY, and there was 5 or 6 youth pastors that went over to kind of lead a conference for teenagers over there, and it was really neat because they did a lot of woodworking over there, but it was just much more primitive, and they'd be on the side of the road, and they'd be hollowing out big trees into canoes. It was really fascinating. It was really neat. So
That's not what you're doing.
that's not what I'm doing. No, this is a cedar strip, and I don't know if anyone's interested or not, but they're just long strips of wood, and you just form it around forms, and then you take the forms out, and you have a hollowed out it's only about a 1/4 inch thick wood. It's real lightweight, and then I'm not to this point yet. You take fiberglass and you fiberglass that. I mean, it still looks like a wooden canoe, but the fiberglass gives it strength. It's clearer. So, yeah.
No, you put the fiberglass sheeting and then polyurethane or something.
Yeah, the fiberglass, it's like a finish. It's clear, and then you'll put like a UV resistant marine finish on it, a clear polyurethane or something like that. So.
Didn't you say you had a canoe but got damaged in the wind earlier?
Yeah.
Or last year?
Yeah, we enjoy the outdoors a lot, and our family vacations usually we're canoeing down a river in Wisconsin, and so we bought a canoe, I don't know, 10 years ago, and use it just for little farm ponds or lakes around, and then we take it to Wisconsin. But we had an old shed that the wind blew down in June. We had a big windstorm this last June in Grinnell and it was a machine shed. We smashed our pickup truck and our lawnmower and our canoe, and so we still have that canoe, but it has a couple holes in it and it's bent up a little bit. We might be able to rescue it, but
yeah.
Anyway.
Now, does Barb get in the canoe, or does she have her own?
She does both.
What do you got, Barb? What do you like to do?
I have a kayak, yeah. So if I had to give a preference, it would be to kayak, but I also love paddling Brian around so he can fish. So That's our setup.
And you're the only one in the family with a kayak?
Well, yeah. I don't, with the boys, I'd only started that about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. We found just an old kayak on Craigslist and bought that, and I was hooked. And so then last Christmas, Brian got me a Cadillac kayak for Christmas, and so anyway.
Great. And it wasn't in that shed that fell down.
It was.
Oh, it was.
It was, yes, and I thought it was ruined. It had like the corner of a beam right down in the front of it, but we pulled it out when we finally got it out of the building, left it laying in the sun, and it popped back out. It was amazing. It was a God thing, I think. So anyway, it's good to go.
Yeah. So you enjoy fishing, and then you're also a deer hunter?
Yeah. Again, that's within the last 5 years. Like I said, we've always liked the outdoors, and my dad never was a hunter. My grandpa from Wisconsin would shotgun hunt, and we were just never close enough to do anything. So I never grew up hunting, but I always wanted to try to shoot a bow, and one of the guys in the church in Grinnell gave me a bow 5 years ago, and so I've learned to bow hunt the last 4 or 5 years, and I've just enjoyed it. I love being out there where it's quiet and the leaves are falling, and so I really enjoy the bow hunting. I don't do a lot of shotgunning. We've done a little bit with pheasants, but I have a lot to learn when it comes to that part of it. But
you come from Grinnell Christian. Up there, they did a lot of mission trips. We'd like to have you give us a few highlights of some of the mission trips that you've been on.
Mission trips?
yeah, I didn't know if you were or
Yeah,
either of us. Yeah, that was. I would say that was a big part of our youth ministry, just service and reaching out to people. And haven't done that for a long time. What's nice is you kind of hear kids that have been through it, and they always point back to those mission trips more than most trips, even the fun ones. Just that those trips really impacted their life. So we used to do every other year or every third year we would go to Juarez, Mexico. We haven't done that for 6, 7, 8 years. I don't know. The reason why is that Juarez got to be a real dangerous spot, and they wouldn't even let us go down there just because there was gangs and drug-related stuff all over the place. So the mission kind of shut down their operation there. They still do other stuff throughout Mexico, but that was the closest probably and the most economical for us. We could drive down there, and we'd be there a week, and we could build a home or two. Home was 11 by 22, about a single stall garage is what a home was down there, but it was an awesome trip. Everything was hand tools. We would pour cement and mix it by hand, and it was hard work really, but very gratifying to be able to give a set of keys to a family that would never own a home, and here was a decent home for them that was way better than what they were living in. No electricity or anything like that, but it was neat. We went through a group called Amore Ministries, and what they would do is work with local pastors in Juarez. They had 12 of them on a board, and then those local pastors would choose a family to build a home for. So it was evangelistic for them, and those local pastors then would follow up with those families. I'm sure there was success stories, or probably not success stories, but I liked that part of it because it wasn't just us showing up and leaving. There was a local pastor down there that could follow up with those families, so I really liked that part of it. So that was neat. We also do some inner city experiences. We sort of had a 3-year rotation for the most part. We would do the Mexico trip. We would do a CIY conference. I think teens from here have done CIY, and those are powerful, powerful weeks. And then we would do a fun trip with service combined with it, and we'd go out to Colorado. And we worked with Denver Rescue Mission. It was kind of like Hope Ministries in Des Moines, but probably a bigger scale. And just right downtown Denver, very eye-opening, where we'd serve homeless people and work in the mission. And we would do that for about 3 days. We also worked with World Vision in a warehouse setting in Denver. Our groups were large enough where it was kind of hard to keep everybody busy at the mission, so we would just package stuff up for World Vision that would get sent over lots of different places, and both of them were just real neat experiences. We also last few years in October have gone down to we went to Omaha one year and Kansas City a couple times for Urban Plunge, and I see maybe the teens might be doing that. Great experience. We went from a Friday night through a Sunday with those experiences, and we went to 8 or 9 different ministries. They kind of organize it for you, but it was neat. We did youth ministry at an inner city African American spot where kids would play in an old gym, and you just play with them and hang out with them, and then there'd be a Bible lesson that someone would put on, and just eye-opening. We'd go to shelters, homeless shelters. We stayed at the homeless shelter in Kansas City, a really neat place. It was called Hope Faith. Really neat. They just share God's love in so many ways. There was facilities there they didn't house people there. They just fed 3 meals a day, but it was 500-600 people at a time at each meal. I mean, it was a big people, a lot of homeless people there for sure. So that was very eye-opening, challenging. This last time, there's cross dressers there, men dressed as women. So it was there's just a lot going on. It's hard to, it was just good. I mean, it's just good to see how people live, and there's just different organizations. On Saturday we went to a church and helped them as they reached out to homeless women and children, and they housed women and children there, but just took lots of people to feed them and to care for them, and so we loved those trips and feel like it was really, I don't know, God taught us a lot of lessons, I guess, in those service trips.